Hello, how you doing? Good Thursday. Hello, Gab.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you or to feel you. Um, we're so happy to read all your comments and to feel all your great energy. So we hope we're bringing good things through this channel. And we're going to talk about today
About Mettavolution, the content behind the album, which is this space we kind of every Thursday we use this space to somehow inspired through some kind of spiritual deep talks where we open up and we talk about what we do, what works for us, and hopefully everything we share can help you as well. So that's the goal. And so this topic, bringing Mettavolution, which is our latest album, to this Thursday kind of podcast thing, is because we want to share with you the meaning behind each song. I don't know if you, this is obviously has a spiritual kind of meaning, and we'll explain how that came about. If you've been following us for a while, and you probably have heard interviews where we mentioned that we wrote the lyrics for each song. We wrote this album in a different way. We worked as if they were songs. So we wrote actual lyrics for each song, and then we made instrumental versions of them. So the reason why it's in this section is because each song has a very deep spiritual kind of meaning. We can start with the name that of the song that gives the name of the album, which is Mettavolution. Gab, can you explain what Mettavolution is?
Yes. Metta is this word here with double T. Metta means in Sanskrit love and compassion. Well, in Sanskrit, each little word means a lot of things. So it means more than that. But since our own language in English or Spanish, for this case, we don't think that way.
Yeah.
We have a limited language that only a word might explain a few concepts, but these words explain a lot of things, like the universe within multi-universe that expand through the breath of a god, and and it's just tiny little words. So metta is one of those words, but essentially in our own understanding it means love and compassion. And what it is compassion? Well, compassion, my definition of compassion would be to be able to feel other pain as it was yours. And why is that so important? Why what people would bother to even? Don't we want to try to actually do the
Run
opposite?
away from it.
Run away from it. And so this is where all goes super doopy, but also is worth not to just dismiss it as a hippy dippy, but actually as a philosophical thought. So we are able to go deep into this, and why would that be so important? So from the philosophical perspective of ancient Indian scriptures and in Eastern philosophy, there are no others. And that's what some of the sages and spiritual master sorry, I'm just like too much coffee with chocolate. I forgot the name, but he said there's no others, which that means that we all are essentially interconnected. So my suffering or my pain is gonna have an impact on the other living beings. And when we don't want to see it and we just live in this illusion that we are separated from the other, we degrade ourselves. So we create a world more or less like the world we currently live in. So, but that's the idea. So we're just.
And when we experience like mystical sensations or experiences, when you meditate a lot and you go through this, I mean, you can actually achieve this with mushrooms these days, but we don't recommend that. Although,
like you mean like peyote? Because we interviewed these our friends.
You mean shaga and reishi?
Mushroom and freaking reishi. Those are herbal mushrooms.
Drink a lot of those.
Like but those they don't activate your gland, pineal gland. But ayahuasca and the other one they do.
Yes, when you go, I mean, my mystical experiences are without the mushrooms, through meditation, and always get to this point where I leave the perception of my body, my thing, my life, and I turn into this being that is part of everything, and it's just an incredible feeling. Just name it. I mean, you can experience that through different techniques, but only is till you experience those moments when you start to have a glimpse of what that really means, because it's difficult to explain. I don't know,
of course.
It's just impossible.
It's like when you, let's say I have a friend that says like, I can't hear the bass lines. I can't hear them. I said, okay, maybe you can't hear them clearly, but they're there. That's for sure. They're there. I said, like, it's almost like she didn't believe in them. And I was like, but it's not about you believe in those bass lines. The bass is there. Yes. And once you take it out, you will feel the difference. You will notice the difference. And this is something you can experience, because if you start training your ear to listen more of the bass, and then your brain will slowly direct you. And one day you're like, voila, that's the bass.
I like that analogy.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it was there. I knew it's true. That's what makes the song. And then it's like, it's clear. Clear as mud. but going back to this concept of metta and why it is important to feel compassion, and what Rod was talking about, a mystical experience, of feel this unity, of feel you being part of the whole of the creation. And you don't need to meditate to feel that. A lot of us will feel it. It's natural. And especially if you are in touch with nature, or with a little baby, or with an animal, which are pure souls. Animals and little babies and little kids, they're pure. They have no agendas. They don't have biases of any kind. And so you can feel safe. Even dogs, some kids, they don't know, they can't read because they have like some psychological little depression or whatever. They learn how to read with a dog, because they will read out loud to the dog. Yes. And they know the dog is not going to judge them. He cares shits about the story. So that's why I think when you have this connection, you start to feel connected in this way, you will act differently in this world. Therefore, Mettavolution. That's why in this view, or in this vision of this album, we wanted to envision this world of this like
evolution through compassion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in my head,
there is there are so many different levels to feel compassion towards others, or even towards yourself. And when you are in this kind of work, like spiritual, personal work, you have opportunities all the time, because now you're aware, right, that you have to be more compassionate, and you have to feel the suffering of others, to understand them, because understanding is a different word for love. And so like now we need to understand that our neighbor is actually using the hammer. And yesterday we had, for example, at my house we had my neighbor had this at 7 in the morning, like Sunday, right? 7 a.m. in the morning, massive like PA system going through like crazy music, you know. And so we have two options, you know. I remember my mom's old pattern of my neighbor's always like a bad neighbor, you know. So I have the opportunity to break that pattern because you know, this is like an old memory of me.
Well, your mom and a lot of people
Yeah.
have it like neighbors from hell.
Yes.
Or the question would be, are you a neighbor from hell? Like, I mean, that's just very important.
Exactly.
Like, you're talking about our spirituality is also.
You have to exactly
start here.
So that's one thing. But I know my neighbor. He's actually a nice guy. But it's like I know it's a little bit sometimes a lack of you know, common sense. And people was like his friends or whatever. They were so happy, genuinely happy. Well, they sounded like they were so like excited to go there and swim and whatever. You know, the kids and all that.
What time?
7 in the morning, p.m. Sunday, 7 a.m. Sorry. So I was already up. I had already finished my meditation, but I told my girlfriend, well, can we actually feel happy for them instead of like saying like, oh, it's too loud, like Sunday, whatever. I mean, you have that choice and you have the other choice. Not only like 7, like, okay, I respect them, I'm gonna be cool. Not only that, even like feeling happy for them because they are happy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they don't have the opportunity to be in this weather or in a pool or whatever. They were so happy, you know. So like, let's go and offer some cool water, you know, and say like them, hey. So that's a massive difference between like the person that I am now today and the one I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have that choice. We all have that choice. We can, and Mettavolution, just to evolve through compassion, that makes you think that way. At least to have the possibility that you can be a different person through your actions.
I think also, which adding to your story, when you talk about compassion in this world, you talk about be patient, be forgiving,
tolerant,
and all of tolerant, and all of that. It's like, but what a bunch of BS is that? We live in a world that is chaotic. At least here in Sigua, you get those things happens all the time. People that they put the loud music or whatever.
Yeah.
However, there's more terrible challenges that we need to face, and a lot of us have to go through. Like, for example, how would you manage to deal with the high stress with a diagnosis or with your loss of your job or all of that?
Or a loss like that.
It's expressed in this. How can you express that in a compassionate way? How can you? But that's the secret or the idea behind this is like this is a place to practice those things, because you can go up in the mountains, and a lot of people they go in the mountain and they are there meditating, and it's really cool, and they just go for retirement. I mean, what happens is like being in the mountain on your own, it might be difficult also because you face your own fears and whatever, but there's a lot of, like that. There's a spiritual teacher that says, okay, you went to the mountain, that you came enlightened, and now you're enlightened. Now let's see if that is true. Go and spend a weekend with your parents, just a little weekend, and let's see, you know.
Eckhart Tolle.
That's right. Said go and spend a weekend with your parents. That can be very challenging too. So. So
this is what we're going to do. So we already described the meaning of Mettavolution, and in the next Thursdays we go and talk about each song, because they do have all like these deeper
And
meaning,
what
and we
do
can talk about the lyrics.
The little symbols
Yeah.
belong to each one
To
of
each
those.
song, yeah.
And so this is a work of in our own heads. I think you have your own vision. It is very important for people, for us to have a vision of what's the world, what would be the world we would like to live, because sometimes we spend so much time going into focusing on all the things we don't like to live, we don't like to see, and we get so frustrated by them, and then we forget, but what would be a great world? What would be a world with no garbage and no plastic and no this and this? How would can we? Because sometimes we are afraid that a word like that might be very boring, that some of us might think that we need war and we need all these crazy shits in order to be happy and rich and not bored. And I think one of the worst threatening for humanity is boredom. That's why we invented fucking social media or channels and and in the, I don't know, at the 1800s invented like, I don't know. I can go on. So okay, so this is the meaning of Mettavolution. And so next Thursday,
yeah, we talk about Terracentric, which has a different approach to kind of the same.
Each one is individual, but belongs to the same sort of
same concept. So thank you. See you next Thursday. Ciao.